Good morning, friends. It's been such a while since I've shared what we eat in the day, what I eat in the day, and some things have slightly changed. It's also been a while since I've talked face to face to the camera. My camera was actually in repair for quite a while, so I was hoping to film on some other options, but we're gonna do what I eat in the day. I'm gonna walk you through some things. First of all, I've been trying to incorporate more herbs daily. This is nettle tea. I had brewed it last night. I had some before bed. I'm gonna have some now as I'm cooking breakfast. Just getting more herbs in my diet has been a goal of mine. Nettle especially, it gives you so much energy, minerals. It's wonderful. I used to find the need to add honey or maple syrup to all of my brewed teas, but over time and acquired taste, I now just drink it plain. So definitely if you're starting drinking teas, herbs, I still do this for my kids, I add a splash of maple syrup or honey so it's a little more palatable for them, and kind of how I got started drinking teas myself. Okay, I'm gonna strain the milk kefir. I know people always have things to say when you say kefir, because here in the West, people say kefir. Eastern culture, they say kefir. So let's get this straining, and we'll just have an egg, sausage, kefir, yogurt. Our breakfasts are pretty simple, just high protein, getting food in our bodies for the day. And I'm gonna bring you along through what we eat today. The kefir grains that I strained out from here, put them back into the jar with some more milk, and this will now ferment in my little fermenting area until tomorrow. Our kefir ferments about 24 hours. It can go longer, but it does get a little more tart, a little more sour. Family's not as keen to eat it, so 24-hour kefir ferment is what we like best. All right, and this is our breakfast. Pretty simple, not a lot of creativity here, but all of our meals are pretty simple, just high protein, delicious. Gonna fill us up for the day. I don't have a lot of time in the mornings to have like fancy elaborate breakfast, because we do eat with my husband before he goes to work. He's actually out milking right now so that I can have breakfast ready. So when he's done, we can all eat together before he goes to work. So I don't have fancy breakfast. It's usually eggs, some sort of meat. Today it's sausage and milk kefir. So our dairy, our fruit, a little bit of extra fat, and that is going to be our simple breakfast. Oh, like after we ate dinner?
I think so.
Oh, I thought you got it before we ate.
Oh, 4 cans.
And you ate. So I already took my oyster, vitamin C, beef liver supplements from Be Fertile this morning, but I'm about to make my Shilajit coffee. Now I prefer iced coffee, but to have Shilajit in your coffee, because this is a resin, meaning it's a liquid form, you can get Shilajit in the like capsule form, but this has not been altered in any way from its original state. It's great for boosting your mood, your energy, your mineral levels, keeping your mood stable throughout the day. So I really notice a difference when I make sure I'm prioritizing my Shilajit. So all I do is take a knife, because this is the only utensil I have that fits in here. And it's kind of difficult to get out, that's why you can't just like spoon it out. Get a little bit on the knife. You need about the size of a pea, like a green circular pea. And then this will melt down in a hot substance. I've seen people just take it like this, kind of ball it up. I really don't love the taste of Shilajit. Can definitely do it, but this is the easiest. Then I put it down in the jar, and then I pour, this is just the way I do it, pour over our coffee that's still very hot. And then the Shilajit will, I drink a very, very milky iced coffee. The Shilajit will melt off of there slowly. It takes a minute because it does need to heat up. And then we'll make the rest of our drink. So I'm gonna go hang some laundry, come back, and this will be ready to add our milk and a few other things. Still sipping on some nettles from this morning. It is all melted now, so it's now in the coffee. You'll never taste it if you're not a fan of Shilajit. So I'm going to add maple syrup or honey if I had it. We're out of honey right now. Milk, gelatin. I will use collagen, but we are out of collagen. So I will have to have this warm because gelatin will clump up if it's not warmed. So I'm going to use my frother. What I do is, to make sure this doesn't clump, I get the frother swirling and then let it get a little bit warm, then add the gelatin. So this will just add some protein to my coffee. Like I said, I prefer collagen, the unflavored collagen, but we're out, so this will work just as good. So back to the Shilajit. I've shared Be Fertile before. They are an amazing family-owned husband and wife ran supplement company. I became connected with Megan, the co-owner of the company, co-founder, co-owner of the company, a little over almost 2 years ago now. Someone is not happy. I had a really fussy little baby. Typically I drink this cold and I add just collagen in the frother and do a cold froth, but we're out of collagen, so I have a little fussy baby here. Back to the company, Be Fertile. The creators of the Shilajit and the oyster and the vitamin C that I take, they are such a genuine company. They're a family-owned husband and wife ran company. They spent so much time just researching and sourcing products for their supplement company, and they're not just one of those greenwash companies that's just selling you supplements to sell you supplements. These are truly baseline ingredients based on supplements that we all are lacking in. I've been taking the Be Fertile supplements since right before I had my youngest, so going on 4 months now. Love them, so I highly recommend if you're looking for some really high quality supplements to support a small business, family run company, check out Be Fertile. I have a link in the description. You can save some money on their supplements. So good, so high quality. My son loves the beef liver. There's so many kids I've seen sharing, so many other families sharing how their kids love these supplements. Kids know that this is what they need, and my son loves taking this. So our coffee is ready. Let me find a straw. We used to have glass straws. My kids were always breaking them, so we switched to these zip-up straws. You can easily clean them out, and my kids can't break them, so that's just what I drink out of this as well. They're on. You have to use a stool. Add a sprinkle of cinnamon on top, and enjoy. It smells good. Thank you, buddy. All right, let's get a little vase for it. Go look on the hutch in the dining room and bring me one. So you're just before the hunting season before us. So before we start bringing in wild game to our freezers, I've been cleaning out what we have. So we're almost out of all of our ground meats, our venison, our beef. So we're kind of stuck to like pork, a little bit of ground beef left, and some bones. So that's what I'm doing here, is getting through the last several bags of bones for broth. And hopefully we'll have many more bones coming in soon from all the animals my husband harvested. So I just shared a video on how to make bone broth in the Instant Pot. It was like a really short 2-minute tutorial. That's how simple it is. There's really not a lot of explanation needed to make bone broth. Just put your bones in your Instant Pot or your stock pot. If you don't have an Instant Pot, add a little bit of apple cider vinegar. In the Instant Pot, I cook it on soup broth function for 3 to 4 hours on the stovetop. You do the exact same way, but you're just gonna let it simmer for longer. Just watch it. Oops, make sure all the water doesn't run out. Now I prefer the Instant Pot better because I don't have to watch it and babysit it. It just does everything on its own and I can just walk away. But if you do it on the stovetop, which I have done if my Instant Pot is in use or I have bones that won't fit in the Instant Pot, I will do it on the stovetop. This is what I eat in the day and I'm gonna tell you about bone broth, but I will probably drink a glass of this. We will put this in the fridge, let the fat separate, because I've made the mistake before of pouring a glass of broth right after I cook it, right before the fat has separated. You can already see the fat separating here. And it is not a delectable taste. You don't want to be drinking that fat, or at least I don't. It's not that it's bad for you or anything, it's just the flavor, I don't love it. Either cook with the fat, put it in soups. I've even fried with the fat. Sipping on broth is also a great way just to have continual protein throughout the day. You don't think of broth being very high in protein, but it actually is. I think I remember maybe a cup is 10 grams of protein. I can't remember. I'll put it on the screen and once I remind myself, but a cup of broth does have a significant amount of protein that you wouldn't think it had. So we'll sort to this. Give the rest to our dogs to chew on. Sometimes if the meat isn't something that we'd want to eat, I do give it to the chickens or the pigs or the dogs. Somebody around here will eat it. We have tacos pretty much every Sunday after church. It's just a little family tradition. This is all we have left. It's Monday at lunch. So I'm going to make this stretch by adding some of those meat scraps that I just pulled off of those bones from the bone broth, as well as a little bit of chopped up sauces. This is how I make meat stretch for our family if we don't have enough. And I don't want to pull out a whole nother pack of ground beef to add to this because we don't need a whole other pack. So I'll just stretch it by adding something else. Sometimes I add like broth to let it simmer in to add protein to the dish, to the taco meat. That's what I'm going to do today. So I've done this before, and I don't know why I always forget that this happens, but I refrigerated our tortilla dough, forgetting that it needs a good 2 or more hours to soften so that I can roll it out. So thankfully I had a few tortillas left from yesterday's lunch that we're gonna have a lunch buddy that we are going to eat with our taco meat, our guacamole, our avocado, our cheese. And we get some cheese. So with that being said, I don't know why I always forget that you need a good 2 or more hours for your dough to soften before it is able to roll out. So we'll probably just save this. If you ever refrigerate your tortilla dough, it needs time to soften and be able to roll out again. I've done that many times. I just this morning forgot that I needed to set out the dough before a good few hours before lunch. So we'll just eat the few tortillas we had from yesterday and that will be fine. Meat is ready. See, I just nicely bulked up that ground beef with the pieces of meat from the bones, as well as a little bit of sausage. Now that's plenty of meat for the kids and I to have on our tacos. we eat sardines, because by themselves they do not look appetizing, and they're not, or I don't believe it is. So this is how I like to eat sardines. This is how I get my family to eat sardines, and they're delicious this way. So we start out by draining, we get these from Thrive Market. So start out by draining the olive oil. You can definitely cook with the olive oil. I just prefer to cook them in butter. So we're gonna drain them and then cook them in a little skillet or a pot. That's what I have sitting out, with a lot of butter and a lot of salt. And it's gone. This is the exact same way I do our oysters, our smoked oysters. If you're wanting to get more oysters into your diet, we rely on the smoked oysters. And I cook these the exact same way I'm showing you these sardines. So I typically make our cottage cheese now that we have our dairy cow, but she is low on milk production lately. We're getting to the end of the summer, and we've had a drought. There's not a lot of grass. So I'm just going to use good culture cottage cheese. This is our backup when I can't make enough cottage cheese for us for the week. Sardines, butter, salt. Okay, back to the cottage cheese. You can do this with yogurt. You can do this with cottage cheese. You can do this with sour cream. You could probably even do it with milk kefir. Yogurt and cottage cheese are our go-tos because that's what we have most often. Okay, and then we're gonna roll this mixture up in seaweed wraps. Okay, my daughter just requested kefir soda. So I'm gonna see if these are fizzy yet. These need to ferment a little longer. It says to vacuum. We're also gonna make a carrot salad because that is a staple most every day in our home. Peel your carrot, grate your carrot. Just get a carrot. The carrot salad is a salad that is meant to support estrogen detox, hormones, fuller lips. I heard people say that it's a Botox alternative, eating a raw carrot salad. Chop this up a little. I'm going to just make sure they're chopped well in here, kind of like really small pieces, and add it to our cottage cheese. Mix all this really well. And we're going to wrap these up in the seaweed wraps. Okay, carrot salad. I'm going to add about a teaspoon of vinegar, teaspoon of MCT oil, which is just coconut oil in a form that will not harden. Oh man, I'm almost out. I need to order some more of this. I used to melt the coconut oil every day, and it just got to be too much. So I just bought this, and I've had this almost a year now. I bought this last year at the Black Friday Perfect Supplement sale. We almost made it. We're about 2 months shy, so this has lasted me 10 months. Just making my carrot salad pretty regularly. And then I also have made mayonnaise with this. Instead of using avocado oil, I've used MCT oil. It's about 3 o'clock, so I'll be prepping dinner within the next hour or two. So this will tide us all over. So I just put a little bit in the seaweed, pinch, and roll. And that's how we eat sardines. This is the same way we eat oysters. Smoked oysters. And I've even mixed the sardines and the oysters in the same pan and cooked them that way. Hey, he's sleeping. I'm getting y'all raw carrot salad and seaweed.
Did you give me some? Did you give me some?
I have a plate for everybody to share, so y'all can get a bowl. So tonight I'm making one of those dinners where you just grab ingredients and put them together, because that's just what today is calling for. I don't have a specific recipe, I don't have a specific combination. This is just when I take meats that we have on hand already cooked, or that I need to add some more to. I have potatoes, carrots, whatever root veggies we have, whether it be Those two. Sometimes I add green beans to this kind of stuff. Sometimes if it was summer, I would add like squash. Winter, I'll probably add like pumpkin like to this. As we get into, we're just harvesting pumpkin. So this is one of those dinners where you just literally throw the ingredients together. I also have some leftover soup from the weekend. This was a cheeseburger soup. It's a really rich, has a really rich broth. You can see all of that gelatinous broth on top. This has just been in the fridge. This is what I do. This may be like bad. Some people might look down on this. But when I make a big pot of soup, I just cook it, put it in the fridge, pull it out, and heat from it as needed. And actually I was gonna freeze some of this, but I'm glad I didn't because I am gonna pull from it today. So I'm gonna pull some of the carrots out of here, some extra potatoes. I'm adding a few more potatoes to this. Some of the broth. We'll kind of let it thicken up and then top it with this tortilla mixture. So this is a really random dinner, and I am notorious for making this type of dinner, but I believe that as the home chef that we should be able to pull ingredients and just put together a delicious meal at any time, and that is just a way to steward what you've been given. And yes, I could definitely have looked up a recipe online and seen that I needed this ingredient, this ingredient, this ingredient, and I could have run to the store, had my husband run to the store, but that is just not how I cook anymore. I did used to cook that way, and if I didn't have an ingredient, I would try to substitute it, but I was really a habit of following ingredients, following recipes, cooking from that, and that just isn't always economical because you may not have a certain ingredient, or you may not have something to substitute the certain ingredient. You can always adapt recipes. I'm a big advocate of, but anyways, just being able to pull a meat, a veggie, a root veggie, some sort of sauce, whether it be bone broth or some type of gravy, and put that together, it's just my favorite way to cook, actually. Actually, I think I'm going to make gravy using onions and bone broth, simmer that down. It takes a while, so actually let me get that started now. You simmer down a bunch of onions in butter. Onions will naturally sort of release a gelatin as they are cooked, which will thicken your gravy. So this is a gravy without flour. So I'm just gonna do that and just smother this in the gravy, the onion broth gravy, and then top it with the tortillas that we never used at lunch, but they have been sitting out now since lunch. So they are nice and pliable and ready to roll out. I believe like 4 o'clock. I try to start dinner by 4 every day. So like today I just thought of to make that gravy, and now I have plenty of time to let those onions simmer, thicken up to thicken my gravy. He finally gave it up. He was not happy about getting in this wrap at first. Okay, so we're gonna add about a cup or more to onions. You simmer that with some butter. You want to start very frequently at the very beginning when the onions are notorious to burn. At the beginning and the end. So you want to watch. This isn't something you want to leave for 30-40 minutes. You want to kind of make sure you're going to be in the kitchen near bath as this starts to simmer, because you don't want to burn the onions. You want them to nicely caramelize, and that will add the thickness to your gravy. This is really easy. I'll talk you through the recipe in case my house gets loud again, because that could very well happen as I'm cooking dinner, because it usually does. They're outside with my husband right now, but they could come in at any time and it could get loud. So we're going to basically cook these onions down. We're going to make sure we're stirring them really well at the beginning, then we can kind of let them simmer for about 30 to 40 minutes, and then make sure we're stirring them really well at the end so they don't burn. You're going to want them to reduce by about half. So I estimated we put in about a cup, maybe 2 of onions. We want them to reduce down to about a cup to a half a cup. So whatever you put in, you want it to reduce down to about half of that. At that point, you're going to put the cooked caramelized onions in a blender, and then pour your broth. I usually do about a cup of broth over your pan to sort of deglaze it and let any of those bits of onions cook into that broth. Let that boil, clean off your pan, scrape it, add the broth to the blender. Then if you want to add your salt and your pepper, any other spices, blend until incorporated and thick, and then pour it over whatever you're using it for. I use that for mashed potatoes, use it for meat and gravy. We're using it for this little one pot skillet dish tonight. So many of my dinners and lunches don't really have names. They're just ingredients we pull together, and that's how I've learned to cook on a budget, to cook with what we have, to cook with the same ingredients, but to change them up so that our family doesn't get tired of the same things. Because a lot of our meals incorporate meat, potatoes, sausage, carrots, gravies, onions, garlics, the main basic staples. That's kind of what we eat, and it's simple, it's delicious, we feel nourished, we feel healthy, and it's just kind of how we eat. So I don't have lots of creative recipes to share with y'all, and I always want to encourage you. I know a lot of times I feel like we sort of, people on videos like this will sort of put an extra for that day of what they're eating when they don't always really eat that. But y'all have literally seen the simplest of the simplest things we eat in a day, the bare minimum, and this is a like lower end of meat day. We are lower on meat right now, so we're trying to make meat stretch because, as I told y'all, I think at the end of this video, we're coming into the hunting season, so our freezers will be stocked pretty soon. We actually did not get our half beef this year. I've shared before how we order our half beef, our cow every year, and we had that order placed, but unfortunately they changed the price of what they were going to charge us in the middle of the contract, and it just wasn't what we had budgeted for, so we had to cancel that order. And so we don't have as much beef and as many of the meat cuts as we usually do, so we're looking to raise our own for next year or find another source for next year. I hope you've seen today how I made meat stretch for us to be full and satisfied, but also budget friendly. Those are beautiful. So I brought some beautiful goldenrods. I know some people don't like goldenrods in the fall. They say they make them sneeze, but I love them. Actually my favorite way to cook, not following recipes. And once you learn the skill of pulling from here, pulling from there, you're going to become a lot more comfortable in the kitchen. They're going to look burnt, but they're not. They're going to be nice and caramelized to help thicken your gravy. This is our bone broth from earlier that we strained up. Of broth to add to our skillet once our onions come out. And scrape all those bits and pieces of your onions into your broth. Now, my husband likes a thicker gravy. If I was serving this with like mashed potatoes, I usually put this back in a little stock pot, add some gelatin. It will thicken up a little bit. I don't add a lot of gelatin because you don't want congealed gravy, but it smells amazing. This has the best flavor with those onions. But I don't need it really thick because I'm just pouring it over this dish. We're usually mainly doing it for the flavor. I'm going to let this cook down a little bit longer before I add the topping because I don't want it just to sink.